Hello, you fuckheads and retards, and welcome to another edition of my exciting show. Today, we're going to kind of change things a little. I'm going to talk about teaching in South Korea and living in South Korea. And I'll get back to the news maybe tomorrow or the next day. So let's get on with it. I was watching this video on YouTube called Don't Teach English in South Korea by this young woman who felt like she'd been used and abused. And let me tell you something, she probably was. But I noticed that she had set herself up for failure right from the start. You know, she came to this country with unrealistic expectations. And from the time she got off that plane, she was going to fail. So let me tell you a few things to help you succeed. Right? You don't want to fly all the way over here just to get fired and to pack your bags, go back to your home country and be a shell of yourself. She seems like she's in really bad shape. So the first thing she did wrong is she had this idea that she's a real teacher. You know, she went to college for teaching and she has experience in America teaching. So she thought that would make her life easier, the transition easier. And nothing could be further from the truth, right? You got to take that I'm a real teacher attitude and throw it in a garbage can. I'm a real teacher, like her. I went to college for it. I taught in the American public school system for 5 years. I had tenure. It sucked. I hated it. Anyway, but I threw that into the wastebasket before I came to Korea. This whole idea that I'm a real teacher, that I'm something special. I'm a special commodity. First of all, it will alienate your coworkers. Now, when you get to Korea, a lot of the kids who are teaching here, or I shouldn't say kids, some of them are old. They're older than me, some of them. Most of them don't have teaching licenses, right? So if you go around thinking that your shit doesn't stink just because you have a teacher's license from whatever state you happen to be from, and that you have more experience, right away they're going to say, you know something, this guy's an asshole. He's always putting me down. So throw away that idea that, boy, you're a real teacher and you know what you're doing and all that other kind of crap, because you're not in Kansas anymore. You know, this is a different side of the world. It's a hugely different culture. So you got to get rid of that attitude. Secondly, being a real teacher can be a detriment in this country, because all the places you're going to work, unless you do EPIC, which is when teachers go into the public school system as native speakers, right? Every job you're going to have is going to depend on your school making a profit. This is not really about education so much as it is about making money while you're educating, okay? So if you're there and you're haughty and you're giving them, and if you're saying to them, look, how dare you tell me how to teach, because I'm a real teacher. I know what the fuck I'm doing. It's not gonna work. They're not gonna like it. And secondly, you don't have a lot of authority. So if the kids don't like you, it doesn't matter what degree you have. They're gonna start leaving. They're gonna say, well, I can't stand this guy. I can't stand this girl. I'm going to another school down the road. You gotta remember, there are millions of institutes in Korea. And these kids have a ton of choices where to spend their money for their English education. So if they don't like you, they're going someplace else, no matter what degree you have. So they have to like you. You got to build a rapport with the children and the parents. And if you don't, they'll leave and the school will lose money and you'll get fired. All right? Fired. I've seen it. I've seen lots of people throughout my time in Korea getting fired, you know? So you got to be careful with your attitude and you have to be realistic. that you're not a real teacher in the sense that the kids have to be there, right? You're not. You simply aren't. Second thing is, she was complaining how her boss wanted her to go out and drink after work all the time with all the other teachers. That's just one of the things about Korea, is that they love to get drunk, and they like to do it with groups of friends or co-workers. It's supposed to make you feel camaraderie, like you're together, and you have to do it if you're in that situation, or you're going to seem like an outsider. You don't want that to happen. So how do you stop yourself from getting drunk if you're in this situation where the boss is saying you got to go? What you do is you leave your glass half full. It's as simple as that. You have a drink and then you leave it half full, and they won't fill it again until it's empty. That's the thing about Korean culture, is that they never fill a half empty glass. All right? So that's what you have to do. You have to go and smile and be part of the group. Take a few sips of beer, leave it on the counter or the bar or the table, and then don't drink from it. And trust me, no one will fill it up. And by the time you leave, you'll be sober as a church mouse. Now, the thing is that you might be bored. Everyone else is going to be drunk, and you're going to be sitting there sober. So that is kind of boring. But if it's one of those things, if the boss says you got to go drink, then if you want to keep a rapport with your boss, it's best to go with him, because the closer you are with the boss, the harder it is for him to fire you. All right? So that's another tip I'd give you, is go out with your coworkers and leave the glass half full if you're not a drunkard. Me, when I was young, trust me, that glass wasn't half full. You know, it was empty, you know, most of the time. But I'm older now, so I don't have the stamina for that type of nonsense anymore. I usually just, I don't do any of that thing anymore, like as far as excessive drinking. And what else was she saying? She was saying that don't trust the recruiters. Well, this is true. You shouldn't trust the recruiter. The recruiter is a headhunter. He's just going to try to get you into a school so that he can make a profit, right? He gets a commission every time he headhunts successfully. So that goes without saying, you shouldn't trust them. But that goes back to what I'm also saying about false expectations. When you come into these hagwons, that's what they're called, these after school institutions, they're called hagwons. And you get a job that it's not going to be by Western standards. You're going to have to work your ass off. And it's going to be hell. You're going to sit there when you go to that school and say, oh, another day of this shit. Right? If it's a hagwon, that's what you're going to say. You're going to say, wow, man, I can't believe this crap. I got to go do this crap. And it's not easy. You know, if you have like little elementary school kids and they're running around, they don't speak the language, and you're in there by yourself and you're trying to get them to sit down, and it's a scene, right? So it's not as easy as it seems. It's not like going out and digging a ditch in 100-degree weather. But it's not easy. It's not an easy gig, right? So you, like I said, you want to be realistic. She also complained about Epic, which is, you know, teaching in public school. She must have got fired from one gig and went into Epic. I don't know. She probably got fired from that one too. In Epic, you have a co-teacher, a Korean co-teacher. And a lot of times, these people aren't going to like you. So instead of having an icy attitude towards this person who doesn't like you, my thing is meet their dislike with positive optimism and kind words, and try to melt their stony hearts, right? That's what I would tell you. Because if you are in constant conflict with your Korean co-teacher, they're not going to take, no one's going to take your side, right? You're the foreigner. So what you have to do is you have to win them over. And when you do this, eventually they'll come up to you and they'll be honest. They'll say, boy, I used to really hate foreigners until I met you. And you'll say, well, hallelujah. I'm glad you've seen the light that we're all not a bunch of whatever, perverts or sadists or whatever. Fill in the blank yourself. And that's my advice for success, right? You don't want to go there and get fired, and you don't want to have a totally miserable time, and you don't want to go there with false expectations. It's a hard job, for the most part. Anyway, especially your first job there, because it's your first job, and you haven't had the chance to look for more decent work, right? So just keep all that in mind. Anyway, I'm going to leave. If you like this, press like. And if you want to subscribe, press subscribe. Anyway, God bless you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.